following series of exercises are with the foam roll. The foam roll is a great tool to help improve posture, improve the elasticity of muscles, as well as prepare your muscles for activity. This exercise is called foam rolling for the calf. The purpose of this exercise is to loosen up the calf muscle, work out the trigger points, and prepare it for lower extremity activity. This helps increase ankle and knee mobility, which will help improve performance and provide more flexibility for the calf in general. She'll start with her leg on the foam roll, like so, and she's going to cross the other leg over. This adds extra pressure so she can really roll out the muscle in the back with the foam roll. So she's going to roll up and down the foam roll until she finds a trigger point throughout that calf region. So she'll find a trigger point here, and then she's going to rock her leg in and out, and as she does this, that trigger point should loosen. She may say that I feel a real good strong trigger point right here, so she's going to roll up and down in this position when she's got it more on the outer part of her leg, or she may feel it a little bit more on the inner portion of her leg and say I'm going to roll up and down through here. As she releases trigger points, she's going to go further up the calf, finding a new trigger point, rocking back and forth through there, and releasing those trigger points. In addition to just rolling out the calf, you can get this lateral lower leg muscle that we call the peroneals. So she can roll to her side into a plank position and then roll up and down on these peroneals. She'll find a trigger point. Once she finds a trigger point, she can rock back and forth on that. Or she can just roll up and down right over that area in smaller oscillations. She's going to do this entire calf for between 2 and 3 minutes, depending on how long it takes to roll out her trigger points. She can also get the inner portion of her leg by going to the foam roll and turning inward. So the opposite of what we just did, she'll rock down and she's going to get really rolled. So the medial side of the calf is on this foam roll. She'll oscillate up and down on it. As she rolls through, she may find a trigger point and she's going to rock back and forth through that area nice and slow. This exercise is called foam rolling for the hamstring. The purpose of this exercise is to increase the flexibility of the hamstring muscle and relieve trigger points. This will help improve mobility of the knee and the hip and prepare the body for lower extremity activities. So she'll start with her leg over the foam roll, extending this leg and putting the opposite leg over her exercise leg to create more tension and more pressure and intensity through the foam roll. She's going to prop her body up with her arms and roll up and down on the foam roll until she finds a good trigger point in her hamstring. Once she finds that trigger point, she's going to rock in and outward until she relieves that trigger point. She can also, once she finds that trigger point, as she's rocking in and outward, she'll find a trigger point, let's say right here. She can baby roll right through that so she doesn't have to go up the entire length of the thigh. She'll roll to a new trigger point, rock in and out. Once she's there, she can go through little baby rolls as well. She'll do this exercise through the entire length of the hamstring, relieving all the trigger points. She'll do this for about 2 minutes per thigh. To get even more of the inner hamstring muscle, she'll bring her opposite leg up to her knee and then she'll roll so she is got the inside of her thigh through here and roll all the way down until she feels her trigger points and oscillate in that area. So to bias this inside, all she's done was raise this leg to clear it out of the way so she can get the inner thigh a little bit more. The name of this exercise is called foam roll quad rollout. She's going to be rolling out her quadricep muscle, and the purpose of this is to loosen up the trigger points in her thigh muscles, as well as create more flexibility for the quadriceps, and that will create more hip mobility and more knee mobility and prepare her body for lower extremity activities. Once she's down on the foam roll, she's going to just roll her thigh up and down on the foam roll. as she finds a restriction, she's going to pause in that area and just roll smaller rolls and slower rolls up and down. She'll even roll outward and inward to attack that tissue in a different plane of motion. As she loosens that restriction, she'll move to another area. She's going to do this exercise all the way up to the top of her hip. And as she finds restrictions, she's going to cover this front area of the hip and rock inward and outward. She's going to work that all the way down into the front of her knee. So she'll be working restrictions out right through here by rocking backward and forward and up and down in smaller oscillations in that area. To increase the pressure, you'll notice that she has had her leg up in the air, and this puts more body weight through the foam roll and allows her to get a more aggressive stretch to relieve those trigger points. You're going to do this exercise for about 2 minutes per thigh. The name of this exercise is called foam roll IT band rollout. The purpose of this exercise is to roll out the trigger points of the lateral thigh, which is where the IT band lays, and help improve mobility and flexibility of the knee and the hip and prepare the body for lower extremity exercises. The way that this exercise is performed is she's just going to roll up and down on the foam roll until she feels trigger points on the outside of her thigh. When she feels that trigger point, she's going to rest in that area and take smaller rolls up and down, and then roll forward and backward to really work that trigger point out in a different plane of motion. Once she reaches that, she'll go ahead to the next area of restriction. She's going to be rolling all the way to the distal end of the thigh, right by the knee, and really work out those restrictions. And she'll even take it all the way up to the proximal end of the thigh near the hip and work out these restrictions. She should be able to treat the entire lateral thigh in about 2 minutes per leg. The name of this exercise is called foam roll glute rollout. What we're going to be doing is rolling out the muscles in her buttocks area, which is called the gluteals. She's going to roll out those hip muscles, and the purpose of this is to help improve mobility of the hip and lumbar spine, and this will help prepare her body for doing lower extremity exercises that require use of the hip or powering through any type of rotational movement. She's going to roll up and down until she finds a restriction in her gluteal areas. As she finds one, she's going to rock side to side. She can change the types of pressure she feels through the hips by extending this leg and rolling more to her side to get more of the lateral side of the hip, and even oscillating in that area. She can even cross this leg higher by extending this leg and cross this leg up and roll down a little bit more. And now as she turns her body this way, she's going to get a little bit more of the posterior aspect of her hips, and she'll roll up and throughout this whole region. As she finds trigger points through her hips and her gluteals, she's going to rock back and forth in that region. She should be able to roll out the entire glute region in about 2 minutes.